Just over 6 weeks now until the Iowa caucuses, those candidates continue to crisscross the Hawkeye state, stumping for support.
And just tonight, Republican Vivek Ramaswamy campaigned in northwest Iowa to include a stop at Rockin' Robins in Onawa. KTIV's Irvin Doman has the story from Monona County.
Sitting in fourth in the latest GOP poll, according to 538.com, Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to make up some ground before Iowa's January 15th caucuses.
It's my job as a leader from the next generation to inspire those young Americans, to bring them in. We're bringing them into the Republican Party, into this caucus, in ways that this party has never seen. That's why I think we're going to deliver a surprise on caucus night.
In recent months, the use of eminent domain to create carbon capture pipelines in Iowa has divided the state. Ramaswamy opposes the use of eminent domain. Thursday, the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association released a statement saying that Ramaswamy's claim that he is, quote, the only candidate with the stones to say it, end quote, is an attempt at clickbait. Ramaswamy says otherwise.
It's going to take somebody with conviction. I've been talking about this since March, long before people were even paying attention to my candidacy. So that addresses their fake criticism that this has to do with clickbait. Tell farmers who are having their land seized to have a pipeline run under their ground that that's not a serious concern. Of course it is.
While there were many other topics covered at Thursday's event, the choice is up to the Iowa Republicans.
The swamp is so deep, I'm not sure he can do it. I think Trump knows where the bodies are hidden. He's not going to be reelected, so he has nothing to lose but to tear it apart.
For one couple at the event, they're split on who they'll support.
If it was me, and I would choose Vivek. I think that he's young enough and he can make changes. I think Trump did a great job.
This time, for the next 4 years, that we have Trump as president and Vivek as VP.
They both said they would be happy with either former President Trump or Ramaswamy as the GOP nominee, and with more time and information, they say their decision will become more clear. In Onawa, Iowa, Irvin Doman, KTIV News 4.
Ramaswamy will hold an event tomorrow in Des Moines. The sole focus of that event is to address concerns about the carbon capture pipelines. And